From the Prime Minister.
And who is effectively
actually, it's Boris first. Here we go.
Who has never in his 35-year career in Parliament been either a minister or a shadow minister, who has been disavowed by 75% of the MPs who he is meant to be leading, a man who has espoused just about every piece of nonsense dreamt up by the loony London left from which he emerged. Is that what we want? No, it isn't. Or do we want Theresa May, a woman who in the last 7 years, has got on with the hard work of government and helped to make this one of the most dynamic and successful economies in the world, with the highest rate of employment in memory? Is that what we want? Yes, it is. Do we want Jeremy Corbyn? A man who has chosen, let me finish the point, a man who has chosen throughout my lifetime to side with the enemies of this country, from the IRA to Hamas, from Soviet communism to General Galtieri, for heaven's sake. A man who in 2001 refused even to ban Al-Qaeda, refused to support the banning of Al-Qaeda from this country, who has recently opposed shoot to kill when armed terrorists are threatening innocent members of the public, and who would leave this country open to nuclear blackmail because of his visceral hostility to this country's defences, and indeed would send our nuclear submarines to sea with no nukes aboard, so the whole country was literally firing blanks. Is that what we want in our Prime Minister? No, it isn't. Or do we want a woman, Theresa May, who has worked night and day to keep crime coming down, to make our country safer, a woman who has defeated the cunning, I might say, of lefty lawyers and succeeded in deporting Abu Qatada and other extremists, and who I can tell you from my own personal experience has earned the admiration of her colleagues in Europe and around the world for her toughness in fighting terrorism, a toughness that is now needed more than ever. And a woman who has pledged not to junk Britain's defences, but to give our serving men and women the resources that they need. Isn't that what we want? And at this critical moment in our history, do we want to send Jeremy Corbyn as our chief negotiator to Brussels, with his coalition partners Nicola Sturgeon and Tim Farron crouching on his shoulder and babbling in his ear, and of course trying to frustrate Brexit? That is not, in my view, what we want or need. Do we want, on the other hand, to send Theresa May, who has a clear plan not just to fulfil the will of the people, but to do a great deal for this country, for the interests of the UK and the whole of Europe and indeed the world? Is that what we want from our Brexit, a successful Brexit led by our Prime Minister? I think it is. Finally, do we want to entrust this great country of ours to the most left-wing leader I can remember, whose economic policies, the IFS, I heard him on the radio this morning, he was even on the BBC. They allowed this fact through this morning on the Today programme. The IFS validated that Jeremy Corbyn is going to put up, if were he to get in, he would put up taxes in this country by the biggest amount in peacetime history. And then, of course, he'd fund the rest of it with the mythical fruits of the magic money tree. Do we want Jeremy Corbyn wrecking our great economy? No, we don't. Do we need, rather, a woman who understands that you need a strong and dynamic economy to pay for the NHS, to pay for great public services, to look after the poorest and the neediest in our society, which is the fundamental symmetry of our one-nation conservatism. That is the choice. Do we want to go backwards to the 1970s? I mean, wait, there were some good bits in 1970s. Never mind the music. No, I don't mean the music. Do we want to go back? Do we want to go back to the era of trades union bosses in Number 10 with higher taxes and a morose anti-business climate? And it occurs to me, we are in Meriden, which is where Tony Benn dreamt up his doomed communist motorbike collective. Don't you remember? Which, of course, I'm sure Jeremy Corbyn admires. Which failed totally. Do we rather want to go forward with the investment and the ambition that will make this country, according to reputable predictions by McKinsey and other consultants, the most powerful economy, the UK to be the most powerful economy in Europe, bar none, by the middle of this century, and which, by the way, is already producing more cars and more motorbikes, thanks to good Conservative policies, than at any time in our history. That is the choice before our country tomorrow, my friends. That is the choice. And in just a few hours, millions of people are going to start going to the polls to make that choice. So let's, for heaven's sake, help them to understand the magnitude, the gravity, and the importance of the decision they are about.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.